Usopp leaves the Straw Hats in episode 236 on June 19th, 2005. He doesn't come back until episode 323, September 9th, 2007. Robin disappears in episode 225 on March 13th, 2005. She does not come back until episode 310 on June 3rd, 2007. For everyone watching this weekly Shonen Jump, we went a year and a half with broken Straw Hats. Oh yeah, don't forget, after hundreds of episodes, the going merry is going bad. But here's the thing, all of this, Usopp's departure, Robin's betrayal, the going merry's fate, was all set up and foreshadowed way back in episode 17. The One Piece Water 7 arc has that Empire Strikes Back feel, that Avengers Infinity War vibe to it. It feels like there's all these lasting consequences and not a single damn reward. But unlike those stories, Water 7 doesn't have some all-powerful mastermind pulling all the strings. There is no Empire to strike back. This time, the Straw Hats themselves are just as big as an obstacle as anything else going on right now. Robin, she ends up betraying y'all, just like all her friends said she would. And Usopp, his love for the Merry made him fear that he'd face the same rejection that eventually came upon his ship. 5 Straw Hats, 35 episodes. Let's get straight into this because we got a lot to unpack. At this point, I watched about 300 episodes of this legendary anime and I thought I was getting the vibe of it. Oda doesn't kill people off, he foreshadows things years in advance, blah blah blah. It's clever, but you kind of expect these things now. But this arc, Water 7, just like every arc I've seen so far, to be honest, it broke the One Piece mold that I've gotten to know so quickly. The Straw Hats were not whole for years. They were dead broke. They were pirates stuck on land with no pirate ship. The stakes are high now. The consequences are very real, especially for 2 of y'all. And as for the rest of y'all, welcome back to the Bread Show, you know what I'm saying? This is a place where we give our anime and gaming opinions while doing a little bit of animating and gaming ourselves. And y'all already know what to expect at this point. I am continuing this long-lasting journey of watching all of One Piece. We did Alabasta, we did Skypiea, today is Water 7, and next week is Enies Lobby. Did I break up Water 7 and Enies Lobbies into 2 separate videos so I have more time to actually watch the show? Who knows, it just worked out like that, oh silly me. But I see a lot of you have not subscribed, so hopefully by the end of this video, I can convince y'all to subscribe to the channel. Especially if you're a One Piece fan. If you're a One Piece fan, you have no excuse. Please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out a lot. Let's get right back into this. And as tradition for all my One Piece fans who are on episode, what, 1137 right now? Because it's probably been a while, I'm gonna give a 30-second summary of what's going on right now in Water 7, where I'm at. After Skypiea, the Going Merry needs repairs, so they head to Water 7, seeking out the Galley Law Company. And they got full pockets full, $300 million to repair this ship. While they're there, Nico Robin mysteriously disappears, and everyone concerning a Straw Hat was framed for a random attack on Mayor Iceberg. So now the Straw Hats can't get their ship, and everybody's riled up. The Frankie family, the crew, the citizens, the actual mayor's office, the random shipwrights who know how to roundhouse kick people. Usopp gets stepped on, $200 million stolen from him. He's feeling real weak. Turns out the Going Merry is actually in a worse position we thought it was in. Usopp wants to keep the ship, the Straw Hats don't. Usopp fights Luffy, Robin's still nowhere to be found, and the arc just kind of ends like that. Robin was legitimately gone for 86 episodes. This was foreshadowed heavily, and even though it was foreshadowed for a very long time, her actual reasoning for leaving was pretty straightforward and made sense. Work with the government, cut ties with the Straw Hats, die as a sacrificial lamb for the Straw Hats to escape. You know what? No, cut all this. I'll have plenty of time to talk about Robin in the next video. Let's get down to what what Water 7 is really about. Or should I say, who it's about. Usopp was out of the crew for 87 episodes, y'all. Usopp was in the original 5. He was the 4th member to join, and he's gone for 87 episodes. There's animes that don't last 87 episodes. Usopp was part of the original 5, the 4th member, gone for 87 episodes. The problem with the Merry and Usopp leaving are obviously consequences that go together. But on the flip side of that, each story doesn't flourish without the other one happening at the same exact time. The Merry is struggling in the Grand Line with an expanding crew, and Usopp is struggling with finding a place in that expanding crew. Everybody understood since Skypiea, the previous arc, that the Merry was becoming a problem. But even Oda realized that Usopp was getting left behind, seemingly left behind. He came on the crew to be a sniper, He's not much of a sniper. Luffy and Zoro go up against those A-level threats, those demon level, the world-ending threats. But my brother Usopp pulls out a hand-sized, Smurf-sized slingshot out his pockets. He's not tough, bro. And I'll be honest with y'all, even to me, as someone who is just now watching this show, going on this adventure, and got up to Water 7, he has moments where he just feels like pure comedic relief. He was one of the first people knocked out of the Skypiea survival game. Watching the beginning of this arc, even I was frustrated with Usopp, even with real responsibility on the line. 200 mil is on the line, and the Frankie family stepped on this boy and took everything. And in my head, I'm thinking, that's almost the entire sack. That's almost the entire reward that they got for the whole previous arc. A whole trip to Skypiea, to the clouds, that was damaging the Mary, wasted. But don't you worry, I sold enough times in Lethal Company to understand the weight of that guilt, Usopp. All right. Then I'm back. And as they get deeper and deeper into the Grand Line, stronger opponents than the Frankie family is gonna keep showing up. And the audience knows that. Usopp knows that. Everybody knows that. So yeah, that part was frustrating. Frankie family stomped his ass out, hit a $200 million lick on this boy. But that was all necessary. That was supposed to be frustrating. This necessary evil is so important for Usopp's eventual character arc that wraps up really in Enies Lobby. But everything he went through was a necessary canon event, and it really had nothing to do with the actual money being lost. The whole climactic event of Usopp getting jumped forced the audience and Usopp to face the same thing. Usopp justifiably sees himself as the weakest link. In this arc, Usopp doubts his own self-worth and lashes out at everyone he comes across because of it, including some of his closest friends. While Usopp is fighting this internal battle of worthlessness, external battles are only pouring salt in the wound. More salt in the wound. Usopp doesn't want to leave the Mary behind, but he can only muster a pathetic attempt to persuade anyone in the crew to come to his side, on top of feeling low self-worth. His own people that he's been on a ship with, practically his family, have turned on him and left him on a mental, physical, and emotional level in his eyes. Oh yeah, and to top it all off, Luffy has to fight you now, just based off principle. I said this before, I'ma say it again. Usopp's love for the Mary made him fear being left behind like the ship. In one breath, he saw how much the crew needed the Mary, and then in the next breath, he saw how easily the crew was able to decide they didn't need it anymore. In his eyes, they deemed the Mary as useless now, and saw how quickly the crew accepted that fate. Now imagine seeing that, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking that you're useless. So justifiably, understandably, he just feared the same fate for himself. I might sound like a broken record at this point, but that boy Oda is writing. And he continues to write one of the most ironic situations in all of anime. His uselessness only became more apparent after he left the Straw Hats. And the more sad and as equally ironic part of it is his fear of abandonment ultimately isolated him. Hold on now, Oda preaching now. Luffy versus Usopp was the most necessary fight I've ever seen. IRL or fiction. Well, nah, maybe fiction. I've seen some necessary fights in IRL, let's be honest. But Luffy versus Usopp was also one of the most emotional fights in anime history. The reason why I say it's unnecessary is because Usopp, you're wilding right now. Get out your own head and face the obvious like everyone else. But the reason why it's necessary is because Luffy, at the end of the day, you are the captain and you can't have your crew members feeling bold enough to throw coup d'etats like that. It did not matter who won this fight. Neither party had much to gain. It was a lose-lose situation just by accepting the duel. They aren't supposed to be hopping in the paint right now, but they have to. And the irony keeps coming because Usopp was supposed to be in the middle of proving to himself that he wasn't useless because he was going toe-to-toe with a man with a $100 million bounty. But by that point, he was in too deep. It's not like you could just throw up his hands and stop. Oh, actually, no, he might have been able to, but in his mind, he couldn't. But as an audience member, as a third-party member, this fight was amazing to watch because of the circumstance, the personnel involved, the setup, the stakes, and the fact that even when it ended, it was never really over. And even after Usopp lost, he had no plan. That decision to fight Luffy was based off of pure emotion. It was reckless. And the next 87 episodes, the next year and a half, was there to prove that isolation was not the right way to go for Usopp no matter how he felt. Oda found a way to make Usopp's decision to leave the crew not feel out of character at all. Yeah, fighting Luffy was an emotion-based decision, obviously, but usually in this show, Usopp's emotion-based decisions are his best moments, but we'll get more into that later. But right now, he's a solo pirate without a crew. He's left with a broken ship that can't go anywhere, and he also can't leave it behind in the Grand Line. And speaking of the Mary, after about 295 episodes, the Mary is going down. It's effectively dying. Like, that's how they write it in the show. The Mary is dying. I thought the relationship between Franky and Usopp was brilliant. A man who loves the ship that he owns, and a shipwright who also loves ships and making ships, but it's his job to destroy them. There are obvious parallels between the two. But the reason why I love the Usopp and Franky relationship is because of the contrast between the two. The contrast was that one person was able to let go of the past. He had the ability to call it quits. He knew when his ship was out of service. And even though there were so many parallels between these two characters, it's the contrast which starts their fight. I mean, at this point, Usopp is fighting everybody. I told y'all, the way he felt about himself just made him lash out against everybody. No matter how right or wrong they were, no matter how right or wrong he was. Franky versus Usopp only reinforced what we already knew. Usopp loves a ship that can't keep taking this beating, while Usopp himself keeps getting kicked around by everybody he has a problem with. But this time, it came from a totally different third-party observer who had no bias on the situation at all. And I think the very important part out of all of this is putting yourself in Usopp's shoes, because it's easy to just look at him and point fingers at him. But in his mind, I bet after the Usopp versus Franky fight, that only reinforces the idea that A, the Mary is a done deal and useless, and that he himself was also useless. And at this point, trust me, the Straw Hats have their own problems that they're dealing with, and they can't really put too much focus on this whole Usopp thing. And like I said, I'll get more into that side of the story arc in the next video, because that's when everything really wraps up anyways. But in regards to Usopp, there are subtle scenes that had huge implications. Now, I can't talk about them all, and there are a lot, like Chopper and Sanji taking whatever chance they could to go check on Usopp, or the fact that Luffy goes 4 episodes without cracking a smile after his fight with Usopp. But there's one scene in particular that I want to hit. This scene right here is like a split-second scene. Again, for everybody who's watched the show, you know that there's something else going on, and that whole Usopp line is kind of like a B-plot. But this few-second long scene just says so much. It's a reminder of Usopp's existence and Usopp's dedication, not only to the Straw Hats, but to the Mary. It's a reminder of the crew's bond. And lastly, it's just a reminder for all the sacrifices they had to make it this far in their journey anyways. And this brings me to my final point about Usopp in this arc, which I think is the most important thing that I've kind of been saying throughout this whole video. The Straw Hats never hated Usopp. The actual crew never thought he was useless. Yeah, sure, he's comedic relief, a slingshot sniper, and a DIY ship mechanic. But his purpose, his key moments, was his heart and determination. I know one thing for sure, 2 things for certain. Luffy versus Usopp, yes, that was an emotional lash out decision on Usopp's part. But like I said before, Usopp's best moments before were always going to be emotional decisions. He was always a ride or die for his team, ever since he risked his life to defend Kaya in the Syrup Village from the Black Cat Pirates. He was the one who single-handedly defeated Chu in Arlong Park using his brains, unlike the other Straw Hats using their dukes and legs. He was the one who made weapons for Nami, giving her a chance to use science to fight stronger opponents than her, which every opponent is going to be a stronger opponent than her. Him and Chopper teamed up to fight Mr. Four and Merry Christmas in Alabasta. And in my personal opinion, as an observer of the show, let me know if you disagree with this statement. But Usopp was never actually useless. This whole time he was just in his head, as we all can be sometimes. A fact that he proved many times in this arc already. Which, sidebar, makes Zoro's requirement for an apology feels so much more right than just letting him back in the group. The Straw Hats, Luffy especially, never left him. His own insecurities victimized him so much that he became his own villain. He became his biggest obstacle. He became his tallest hurdle. And to be honest with you, you don't see too many story arcs like this in anime. Maybe it's because Oda's so good at writing. Maybe it's because no other anime is this long and this type of story arc needs so long to marinate and build. Whatever it is, it's unique to One Piece, and I'm super excited to start my Enies Lobby video next week. And that video is going to be centered around Robin. Currently, I am watching Thriller Bark, and Robin is my favorite pirate thus far. Sidebar, these videos are, yes, catching up to where I actually am in the story. So yeah, I had to split up the Enies Lobby video. And we're gonna throw in a Hunter x Hunter video just for a break. But yeah, if you're watching this song, sincerely, thank you. And hopefully I convinced you to like the video and subscribe up to this point. I didn't think I would like One Piece this much. And I'm glad I'm taking on this challenge of watching this show and making videos about it. And trust me, it's a challenge. Purely based on the volume. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy all the videos before this and after this. Check out the streams. I'll be streaming by myself. I'll be streaming with Dex. I'll be streaming with my boys. Pixelmon, Lethal Company, Chill Sundays React. We stream on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And let's be honest, some of the days in between. Please like, please subscribe, go tell a friend, do all that stuff for me. Spread love, give inspiration in all you do. Praying for God's blessings on all of you. I hope you have great days, great nights, whatever time you're watching this video. Leave a comment, man. Spread positivity, and peace out.
Welcome to the Crash Show. Take 2.